This brief video is part of a larger series exploring the new NX Measure command. In this video, I will compare the old and new projected distance workflows. I've got NX11 up here. For instance, in this model, if I wanted to go and measure between, say, this face down on the bottom and this face up near the top, I may do that measurement, for instance, look at that, and realize that it's not quite straight. Right? It's a little bit of an angle there, and then maybe realize that those two faces really don't overlap each other, and so I'll need to do a projected measurement. Prior to the NX12, to this new consolidated measure command, I might then go and choose the projected distance instead of that distance. And unfortunately, when we did that, we would lose these selections that we'd already made here. So I go to that projected distance, switch over, and I've lost those again. I'm back to my original selections here. The dialog wants me to select a vector first. If I remember to do that, that's good. If I don't, I may start to select the wrong things. But eventually, as I select those objects, I can get to the faces that I'm after, and I see that 102.53 projected distance that is my desired result. Okay, so the old command, again, as we switch the measurement type, we need to reselect the new dialog. We've avoided that. Similarly, the order, the sequence of the selections was very important in the previous dialog. And in the new dialog, the selections really are order independent for a projected measurement. We'll see that here in just a minute. So let's come to the new dialog. This is NX1202 that we're looking at in this case here. We'll come to that measure command. And in this case, we can do that similar workflow. We start with that face down there on the bottom. We select that face up on the top. And again, we may notice here that our measurement is a little bit diagonal and say, oh, I really wanted to do a projected distance there. I'm going to hide that angle just for simplicity here. And at this point now, without reselecting anything, right, if I want to, I can go now and add a vector in this case and say I want to add, say, this vertical vector, and that'll immediately take me to that projected clearance that I'm after in this case. Here again, I did not need to reselect those first two objects. I can just add the vector and continue forward with the workflow instead of having to back up. Now the interesting thing in this case here too, again, is if we go into this command, we might start with that vector, right, and do that vector first, and that's okay. Okay, we could do that one second. We might pick the bottom face down there and say, you know, I want to use that bottom face again to define my vector, in this case, in the middle this time. And then come and say I want to select that top face up there, and again I'll get that same result. So here again, for projected distances, the object's order of selection now is, or the selections are really order independent now. Based on these objects, a couple of objects and a vector, we'll look at that set of objects and interpret what we think are viable measurements for that, in this case a projected distance.